poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson.
Welcome, my friend. This is your host, Brad Wilson, the founder of EnhanceYourEdge.com, and today's guest is a man who has never been shy about following his bliss, Carlos Welch. Carlos is an MTT grinder and poker coach who exemplifies the phrase, dance to the beat of your own drummer. In our conversation, you're going to hear all about Carlos's journey from being a high school math teacher who had quote unquote, all the things you're supposed to have, house, car, job, relationship, you know the deal, to traveling around the country and living a life that's true to himself, which means playing cards and living out of a Prius. Carlos is going to tell you why he decided to become a Jamaican citizen and why playing in Jamaican sit-and-goes led him to some unexpected dings in expected ROI. You're also going to learn the awesome reasons why living in his van is Carlos's idea of freedom, the most peaceful place Carlos has ever slept in his life. Here's a little hint, you'll never guess it in 1,000 years. Why Carlos's first trip to a real live casino blew his mind, and much, much more. And one final thing that I just want to say before we jump into the show. When I initially reached out to Carlos about coming on, he responded by quipping, "I'd love to come on, but it's more like chasing poker mediocrity," which is of course clever and made me smile, but it brings up an important point. Your idea of greatness in poker and other areas of life are singularly yours, and it's of the utmost importance that you stay true to them. I mention this because number one, you're important to me. I take the success or failure of your journey personally, and I've witnessed myself the suffering and anguish caused by the pursuit of outsized, unrealistic, and sometimes flat-out delusional goals. Way too often in my poker career to not give my opinion and try to save you from some of that pain if that's at all possible. With that in mind, I hope you continue staying true to yourself, and when you reach your own versions of greatness, my wish is that it brings you an endless supply of happiness and fulfillment. So without any further ado, I bring to you the amazing, incredible, one-of-a-kind Carlos Welch. Carlos, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
How are you doing on this whatever day today, afternoon it is?
I'm pretty good. Just woke up, so the first 15 minutes of my day have gone great.
I like starting this show by asking about your journey as a poker player. Can you give us the sense of what that journey has looked like for you? How old are you now, by the way?
That's a good question that I can never remember. 38, I think.
Close enough.
Yeah. I'm 38. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start by you playing poker recreationally in the early 2000s.
Yeah. So I started around 2003, 2004, just found poker basically in a search for a get-rich-quick scheme. So I grew up pretty poor, and at that time, I was into like watching late-night infomercials to find like some type of product to help me like make money.
Like Don Lapre and the
oh my god, that guy.
Small ads in his tiny one-bedroom apartment.
Small ads and no money down real estate, all that kind of stuff. Carlton Sheets. And then one day I was watching late night, like 1 or 2 a.m. and there was this thing that they called it poker, but it was like it didn't look like poker to me because they only had 2 cards. And, I'm used to like, 5-card draw. Never heard of Texas Hold'em. And then they said, oh, somebody just made millions with this, and his name is Moneymaker. And I'm thinking like, come on, man, another scheme. I'm like, who writes this crap? So I was like, this can't be real. But I dug into it and I found out it was actually real. And of course, none of those other things worked, but poker has worked for me over the years. Of course, it's not a get rich quick scheme, but it's been enough to allow me to quit my job, which is what I really wanted. Didn't really want to be rich, just didn't want to, be poor.
What job was that you wanted to get out of?
So, man, if I go back to that time, I was actually a computer programmer for the University of Georgia at that time. And I was early 20s, I guess. Yeah. Have to do the math to a lot to remember what age I was at certain times. But that's basically what I was doing when I started with poker. But I was transitioning out of that job because one of the things I got into when I was looking for a way to make money was real estate. So I decided to go to school for real estate, and then I started selling real estate right between the time, right after I left UGA. And if you know anything about the real estate market, this was 2000, end of 2006, beginning of 2007. So that was pretty much the worst possible time to get into real estate because the bubble was right around the corner. So I ended up doing that for like a year. But I was still playing poker recreationally at this time and not doing well enough to make a living. So the only other job I could get using my degree, which was in, I have a degree in finance and also real estate, but most of the jobs in those industries require you to have experience. And I didn't have experience, but my degree showed that I was good at math. And there was always a need for math teachers. And so I took like a short preparation program over the summer and became a math teacher. And so did that for 5 years and was pretty happy for a while. Got to where I wanted to be in life. Finally had a decent job with I was rich compared to everybody else in my family. I think I had more money than pretty much anybody I knew back then on a first year's teacher salary. But a couple years in, wasn't happy with that job. I was also in a relationship at the time. I was buying a house and just everything that you would think someone would want. The American dream, it didn't make me happy. None of that stuff made me happy. And there was some problems in the relationship. And when we broke up, the relationship kind of fell apart. Everything else did as well. So she moved out of the house. I realized I was only buying the house to make her happy. And I was like, I don't want this house. I don't want this job. What I really want is to pursue poker. So I quit my job, left my house, and decided to pursue poker.
What year was this?
That was 2012.
Wow.
So before that, like I said, I was playing recreationally. And so I had a little bit of money that I won on Poker Stars and Full Tilt right before Black Friday. And unfortunately for me, I had just moved over to Full Tilt from Poker Stars. So that's where 95% of my roll was.
You like going about things the hard way, huh? You get involved in real estate at exactly the wrong time, and you go for poker at exactly after Black Friday.
You know what? That's been a trend in my life. Even poker in general. Like when I got started in poker, a lot of like the big names in the game right now were my peers back then. But because they went full steam ahead with it and I was doing it recreationally, after work and, kind of gave it up for a while to be a teacher, like I lost a lot of ground. Like had I taken it more serious when I first found it, I would be in a much better position than I am now. So yeah, same thing with real estate. Had I gotten in real estate 5 years earlier, or poker 5 years earlier, or Bitcoin 5 years earlier, like, yeah, that's happened so many times in my life.
How much money did you have locked up on Full Tilt? Because I know that this becomes an issue for you, right? Like trying to figure out how to withdraw your money from Full Tilt. How much money did you have, and what steps did you take?
It was $2,500, and I will say that was probably more than 100% of my net worth at the time. And so steps that I took, fortunately, because I was a teacher, I had summers off. So the summer of 2011, right after Black Friday happened, I had this genius idea to move to Jamaica and establish a residency there in order to get my Full Tilt money, because they were still paying out people who didn't live in the United States. You just couldn't get money if you were a resident of the United States.
Wouldn't that be more expensive than $2,500? That seems like it would cost you more than $2,500 to do that. No,
that's the beauty, I guess, Jamaica, or just pretty much any. I won't say any country, but I'll say most countries. The cost of living is way cheaper than the U.S. So I moved to Jamaica, and when I say moved to Jamaica, I rented a place for a month and just got a lease for a month, and that place cost me $350. And of course, I had to buy the plane ticket to get there, but that was kind of like in and of itself, like a separate expense. Like, even if I wasn't trying to do this whole thing, I did a good bit of traveling during the summer anyway, so I kind of consider that a sunk cost. But I'll say the whole thing probably cost me about, let's say, $500 max in order to get the $2,500, and it worked. I set up the lease, I mailed it into Full Tilt, and they said, "Great, we're gonna send you your check in 3 days." No, they said your check is gonna be in the mail. And then 2 days later, I got an email that said that they filed for bankruptcy, and the check never came. So again, too late. Too late. That theme kind of happens often in my life, because a lot of people did get their money in the time between Black Friday up until the point that Full Tilt went under. A lot of people did do it in time and got their money, and apparently I was 2 days too late.
Brutal.
But the whole time I was there, I was paying $350 for the villa I was living in Jamaica, but I was paying like $1,000 for the mortgage on the house that I had back home. And so once I finally got back to the U.S. and decided to, take poker seriously and play full time, I was like, I don't want to be paying a mortgage for a house I don't even want when I'm traveling around the world, for poker. So I left the house and moved into an extended stay hotel room, which instead of $1,000 a month, I was then paying, I think at the time it might have been under $200 a week.
Where was this extended stay hotel room? Probably not in Atlanta, right? Not in Georgia.
It wasn't Atlanta. It was in Georgia, but is above Atlanta in a town called Kennesaw.
Yeah. I live in Atlanta, so I actually meant, you mentioned UGA, and that's Athens, but yeah. So you're in Kennesaw, staying at an extended stay place. I went to high school in Kennesaw as an aside that probably nobody cares about at all.
So you probably know exactly where this place is. That's pretty cool.
So what were you doing there? How were you playing poker in Kennesaw?
So basically, I had this little hotel room, and I was playing online. And so what year was this again? I got to go back. This was 2012. Here's the other thing. When Black Friday happened, I thought that online poker was just done in the U.S. So that's another reason why I kind of forgotten about it. But then I discovered some of these little, I guess, lesser sites. At the time, there was Lock Poker, and then later Carbon Poker. And that's the one that I kind of started back on after we lost access to Stars and Full Tilt. So I was playing on those sites, just really small tournaments, and eventually Bovada. Well, I guess back then it was probably still Bodog. I can't remember. But when that site came around, I started playing on that one, and I've been playing on that one pretty much ever since.
Did you get hurt by lock poker? Because I'm pretty sure lock poker was another one that kind of disappeared in the wind.
Yes. I played on lock poker, but I didn't get hurt in the sense that other people did because I didn't have much money on there at the time. And honestly, I do remember playing on lock, but I didn't play a lot of volume on it. Most of my volume was on carbon.
I think I remember reading somewhere somebody was like getting slow paid on lock poker, and a lot of people were playing on it. And I remember just thinking, no, I'm not dealing with this again. I'm not going to touch this site.
Yeah.
10-foot pole. And then shortly thereafter, they kind of went under. And I actually didn't play on Bodog or Bovada for probably 4 years after Black Friday because I just didn't trust anything.
Yeah. And I think that's why I didn't play on them. Like, part of it was like lack of trust, and part of it was just lack of knowledge. Like, I knew about Stars and party poker from watching like TV commercials. So I didn't know about carbon until I don't even know how I discovered it. But somehow I ran across the idea that, hey, online poker is like kind of making a comeback in the US, kind of under the table. And that was like all I needed, because it came at the perfect time for me. It was right when I was, getting fed up with my normal life.
Did you play any live poker in the Atlanta area, or did you travel to tournaments?
I didn't start with live poker until later. So basically, see, this is good. Given that you know about the Atlanta poker scene, a lot of this stuff is going to make perfect sense to you, if not to the listeners. I knew that eventually I would want to play live, but I'd never done it before. Like, a lot of people grew up playing poker with their family, and I did a little bit, well, not necessarily with my family, but I played a little bit of 5-card draw on like Yahoo Games for free. But as far as Texas Hold'em, like, my family didn't know anything about that. So because I wanted to play live and I had no idea how to handle chips and like all that kind of stuff, I started playing at bar leagues. So I started with interstate poker, and I'm sure you know what that is. So that's where you go to like different bars around town in Atlanta, and you basically play poker for free in order to try to win like bar food. So you like ship a tournament for like $20 worth of nachos or something. But I was mainly doing it for, getting used to sitting at a live poker table and like handling chips. And so I did that, and then that kind of got me prepared to try out Cherokee. So Cherokee, the WSOP circuit stop, started in Cherokee in April of 2013. So I went to that first circuit stop, and that was my first time playing live poker for real money.
What was your feeling getting into that tournament area in Cherokee, or cash? I'm not sure which you specialize in, but
actually it was sit and goes, they call them single table satellites.
How'd you feel getting in there with this is a step up from the bar leagues in a live poker environment?
I felt like a boss, and this is why. The reason I went to play single table satellites is because the first, was it 10? So I started 2003 and 2004. So first 6 years of my poker career, I was a sit and go reg. And so I had all this experience of playing basically a single table satellite. And I was like way better than the people I was playing against. So I was just like printing money. When I played single table satellites, when I played sit and goes on on PokerStars, I started with $16 sit and goes, and I was pretty much one of the bigger winning regs up until, I want to say, from the 16s up to like the 138s, I think were the buy-ins. And then I dabbled a little bit in the higher ones, which were the 60s. But these satellites that I played live were like $200. And I'm thinking, like, what, you telling me these people are willing to play for $200 and they're like worse than the $16 ones? So like I crushed it. So I wasn't intimidated at all because of the skill edge. I didn't really like the live environment so much. I'm kind of an introvert, and I don't have a lot in common with most of the people that I play poker with. And so I did enjoy that part. I didn't enjoy that part of it, but I enjoyed taking that money.
What do you mean by that? You don't have a lot in common with them?
I don't drink. I don't like to make lewd comments about female dealers. I don't like to talk politics. I don't care about college football. So we're talking about everything that's like the common topics of conversation at a poker table in the South. And here's the other thing. The one thing that I do have in common with them, we can't talk about, which is like poker. I don't want to be at the table talking poker strategy with people I'm playing against, and I don't want to talk about the things they talk about. And they don't want to talk about the things I want to talk about, like underground hip-hop. So, yeah, so I'm basically just sitting there listening to my music and taking their money.
And I can imagine it being a little bit of a shock, going from gearing up to play in this $200 sit and go, sitting down, and then witnessing the caliber of play you're playing against. Had to be pretty shocking, right?
Yeah. I thought it was a joke. I was like, there's no way that these people are just throwing money away like this. And it was like, this is what I looked for all those years late night infomercials. I was like looking for ways to make easy money, and I finally found it. So like, yeah, at that moment I fell in love with poker.
And to go back just a little bit, like if one of my listeners right now is the type of person to make lewd comments about female dealers, fucking stop. Like, just don't fucking do that. Okay. Like, it's just not good, period. Don't do that. I think I'm entering this conversation with Carlos straight on the heels of David Lappin, who said if he could wave a magic wand and change one thing about poker, it would be that it was 50% male and 50% female. Like, yeah, don't fucking create that environment. Be better than that. Like,
I would definitely agree. And we haven't gotten to this, but I've gotten to the point where now I don't enjoy live poker, and I make so much more online that I don't feel the need to play live, even though the buy-ins are bigger. I can find big enough buy-ins online to make me happy. And for that reason, because of the type of environments that you have to play in live, they've kind of lost me as a customer.
It's understandable.
For that exact reason, yeah.
And imagine being a woman in that atmosphere.
Yeah, way worse. Yeah,
you can't even imagine it. And I've said many times I have 2 little girls, and there's no chance in hell I want them sitting at a poker table in the current environment, that the way that it is constructed. And if you think about the long-term success and growth of poker, like that is the next poker boom, right? We have a massive percentage of human beings who are sitting on the sideline because it's not an inclusive environment. And the poker world as a whole, the poker community, just has to do a better job.
Yeah, it's half the population, people.
Yeah, half the population. And for those of you worried about, your win rate and worried about maintaining a good ROI, like, there are a ton of super wealthy women that want to sit down and play cards and just blow off steam. So yeah, just be cool. I think that's always my motto. Be cool. Don't talk shit about people, and make it a good environment, a fun environment for everybody to play in. I derailed this a little bit, but I know you go from living in your extended stay hotel to what's the next move for Carlos?
So here's the big move. So 2015 was like my breakout year in my mind. I played the Bovada Major. Oh, you also asked about playing poker around Atlanta. Of course, we don't have any like casinos in Atlanta, but I did a couple of podcast appearances on the Thinking Poker podcast with Andrew Brokus, and he and I became friends. And there were a couple of guys that heard me on the podcast who were from Atlanta, and they reached out to him to get in contact with me. And those guys became friends with me, and they invited me to like some like local home games. So I would play cash in like local home games, and also I found out about like local tournaments at American Legion,
VFW, American Legions.
Yeah. So I started playing those, and they were pretty cool as well. But so one night I was at the cash game in the home game, and wasn't doing so well, kind of ran bad at that. So I just got annoyed and left. And I was like, if I leave early enough, I still got time to like reg an online tournament, because that was my real love. So I rushed back to the room from Woodstock to Kennesaw, and jumped online and played 3 tournaments. And I want to say I final tabled all 3 of them. Something crazy happened where I won like a bunch of money. So I lost money playing cash, and I immediately won it all back plus more online. Now, this was a Saturday night, and so I was feeling pretty good about myself on Sunday. And so I was like, screw it, I'm going to fire the Bovada Major. Now, this is way above my bankroll at the time. I think the buy-in was $162. I think I was probably playing like $20 or $30 tournaments as my average buy-in at the time. But somehow I shipped it for $27,000.
Oh, boy.
Which was, I want to say at that point, 9 times my net worth. And so that was a big moment for me. I was in the little Kennesaw extended stay when I won that one. That was in February or no, April. That was in April of 2015. And then that year, I sold a bunch of action and played the main event in Vegas for the first time. And then I cashed that as well. So I went from, the beginning of the year having little to nothing to the summer, at the end of the summer, having like, 30 or 40 grand. And I was headed back to the extended stay. And I thought about all I do in this room all day is play poker, study poker, write about poker. And it just kind of a passing thought went through my head. I could do this from a van. And I just thought about it, and I was like, screw it, let's do it. So I bought a van that year and moved into it and did not go back to the hotel room.
What kind of van are we talking about here? I think there are definitely different levels of van. Like, do we got a van down by the river, or like a newer, nice van?
It was probably halfway between those two. This was a 2005 Chrysler Town and Country, and I bought it in 2015. So it was a 10-year-old van. I think I paid $2,500, I think I paid $2,500 for it, something around there. And I enjoyed it, man. I loved it. The first thing I did was, so I bought it in August, I believe. And then I drove through Florida and just hit like 7 casinos in Florida. I drove down the west coast of Florida, all the way to the bottom, all the way to the east coast, and all the way back up. And I just went to like 7 different casinos in 7 different cities. I was chasing like circuit events to like find more sit and goes. So I played in Tampa. I played in I'm not gonna remember, Fort Myers. But yeah, I played in pretty much every casino in Florida except Jacksonville. I was by the time I got back up to Jacksonville, I was sick of Florida, and I was ready to get back to Atlanta, so I went past it.
Where do you stay at night living in a van? Like, what does that look like?
So at the time, I would be like in a Walmart parking lot or like a, what do you call it? Park and ride. Then the ones that have on the side of the highway, I think are called rest stops. But one of the most peaceful places I ever slept in my life was behind an AutoZone in like West Palm Beach.
Why was it super peaceful?
Because there was no lights. And like usually when I'm in like a Walmart, like, they have like the big, lights in their parking lot, all night long. But behind this AutoZone, there were no lights and nobody, it didn't seem unusual for like cars to be parked there overnight because people like leave their broken down cars at AutoZone or something.
How do you protect yourself? Like, it feels super risky leaving the casino with money and then jumping in your van and spending the night in your van. Like, if word gets out, it feels like you're a pretty low-hanging fruit target for anybody that wants to rob somebody.
Now, this was like day to day. So day to day, there was no leaving a casino. When I did play at a casino, I would park in the casino parking lot. And that provided a little bit of protection, given that there was always people coming and going. There was lights everywhere, security, cameras, and everything. And the other thing that's pretty cool about Cherokee, which I think is the only place that does this, in Cherokee, you can put your money on your total rewards card. And so like I will go in, I'll take my card in. You like, at the time, the sit and goes were run on these like electronic tables. And so everybody would sit around this big, it's like you're playing in person, but you're sitting around this big electronic table and you put your card into the table and there your money was there. So whenever I won, the money would go in the card. So I didn't have cash on me when I was out in the van. So at no point, so I've been doing this off and on for 5 years now, and I never had any issues with safety. And I've done it in probably 10 different states and some really sketchy places. And now I'm a little bit more savvy about where I park. But yeah, in the beginning, it was like, some pretty shady spots. But I'm kind of I'm not an easy target. I'll put it that way. And I'm not, I don't look like I have money on me. That's another thing.
So you got image going, and the fact that you can take care of yourself, I think, if something went sideways.
Yeah, the way I dress, I think I probably look more like a robber than a robbie. So they probably pass over me very often.
So you're traveling around all these states, living out of your van. Is that what life looks like today?
Similar, but not exactly the same. So I did the van thing from 2015 up until the end of last year. So I spent most of my time on the West Coast. So I drove my van home to Atlanta for the holidays. And then I sold my van and bought a Prius. And so now I'm living in the Prius. And the purpose of the Prius is that I can leave it running all night so that I can use heat and air conditioning without burning gas because it uses the electric motor overnight. There's a lot less space, and I'm not a small dude, so that sucks. But it's a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be. There's a lot of great YouTube videos. They kind of like show you how to do it if that's something you're interested in. And that's what life looks like for me now.
You must sleep pretty well. You must have no issues sleeping, right? I would think, like, for me, I have various insomnia issues as far as getting to bed at night, but I can't, like, it must be easy for you in a van, because I can't imagine it being ultra comfortable. And then a Prius, I can't even imagine at all.
Yeah. I have no problem sleeping. Like some people would say, like, "Oh, aren't you like freaked out by the noise of just like the city?" But I'm the exact opposite. Like I need noise around to go to sleep. If I try to sleep in dead silence, that would be like complete silence is like the loudest noise in the universe to me. But like, I'll sleep next to a train, train going by. Like that's almost like white noise. That helps me sleep.
Yeah, I need the white noise for sure, like the ambient noise in the background. Again, I'm finicky when it comes to sleep. I'm restless sleeper who doesn't sleep very well, so I need the white noise. But it just, what about like physical exercise, stuff like that? How do you handle maintaining your focus, staying in good shape, living in a van?
Yeah, I don't. That's the short answer. The short answer is I'm not in good shape. But if I wanted to, I could be. And actually, that's not true. I do want to, and I should be, but I'm addicted to sweets. So that's part of the problem. But when I was in good shape, I spent a lot of time at Planet Fitness. That's also where I go to take showers. So, I got access to gym equipment and so I can park and walk anytime I want to. I actually used to do a decent amount of walking when I was in the Atlanta area. I was in really good shape until I met those guys who invited me to the home games in Atlanta. Because the home games in Atlanta, they have pretty good food for quote unquote free that you're paying for with the rake, but it feels free when you're a winning player. So I'm eating like steaks every night and unlimited M&Ms and chips and all this crap. So I quickly gained a lot of the weight. Like I've always been big, but I lost a bunch of weight in my early 20s and I just gained it all back plus more once I started like eating free food at poker games.
That seems so. Now that I think about it, it seems even scarier playing in home games. I guess were you living in your car at that point? Because like there are some people, some folks that I've interacted with in the home games that 100% I don't want them to know that I live in my car. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think any of them knew it except for the guy who invited me to the game, and he's a good friend. But maybe there were one or two of the others that knew it, but these were not scary individuals.
Yeah. Oh, so like when I played in Atlanta, or not Atlanta, in Chattanooga, there was this one home game that was like a poker room. It turned into a poker room over time. Yeah. There was like 10 to 12 tables running. And I was playing the big pot limit Omaha game, and the dummies there would cash me out just in front of everyone. So I see like the 1-2 game running, and this dude's like cashing out $6K and just like fanning it across the table. And I'm like, I got to walk in the dark to my car because it's at like a golf clubhouse. Got to walk like super far in my car, and I would get so paranoid because I'm like watching all these guys that are sitting with like $100 in front of them, watching me get handed $6K. I would like pay the dealers to bring my car around and constantly check my rearview mirror. Like I was extremely paranoid about getting robbed. Didn't help that one of my friends, who's a bookie, would just sit there while we're waiting for the cash game to start, and he'd be like, there's probably $100K in here. Like if I wanted to rob this place, come in with a van and a shotgun and fire a shell in the ceiling, I'm like, dude, you are not helping my paranoia right now. Like,
yeah, fortunately, I never play in those type of environments. It was usually like a group of friends that it was like in some country club location where like all these people have like nice lives and like they're not really interested in that. But what's funny is this: when I was in Jamaica, I actually played a little live poker in Jamaica. Now that was really weird to like play poker as a tourist in Jamaica with the locals and to like win money and then have them come up to you and say, I don't have money to get home now. Can I borrow $5 for a ride? Where in your mind, you're thinking like I translated that as, let me borrow $5 before I take it all.
Yep.
And these are people where this is a place where the minimum wage is like $1 an hour. And so this is a pretty funny story. So I'm playing live poker in Jamaica, and it's like it's a sit and go basically. They call it a tournament, but it was a sit and go. And I got heads up with a Jamaican police officer. So we're playing, and again, it's on one of the little electronic tables. So there's really no cash on the table. It's all electronic. So we play, I end up winning. So I get first, he gets second, and then they bring out the money to you in like little brown paper bags. So they gave me this little brown paper bag, and for the exact reasons you're saying, I just put it in my pocket quickly. I didn't even I didn't want to like open the bag and count the money in front of everybody. So I waited till I got like in a corner by myself, and I did that. And I counted the money, and I had about half of what I was supposed to have. And when I looked at the envelope, I saw that it had second place written on it and the amount of money that I was supposed to get. And so I realized what happened. They gave me the wrong envelope. So I went up to the police officer and I was like, hey, did you get the right envelope for the money? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, can I see your envelope? Because mine said second place on it. And he was like, oh, I threw it away already. And I just started laughing. I was like, you got me. You got me. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
So I got robbed by a Jamaican police officer.
Probably the casino themselves, too, I would think.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were in on it. Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, you have literally no leverage in that situation.
Not at all. Not only did the police officer rob me, I also had to hand out maybe like $2 or $3 $5 bills to like other people who like lost their life role.
Oh my God.
And so I want to say the buy-in for that tournament was like $70, and first was like $240. No, that can't be right. Buy-in must have been like $30 or $40 because first was $240 and second was $120. So I got $120, and the villa that I was staying in was in like very short walking distance to the casino. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be walking in Jamaica at night with $100 on you when people know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard stories about folks visiting Jamaica or like Sandals, Jamaica, and they go to the beach and there are people like guarding the beach with like AKs. Can be a scary, scary thing in the wrong place.
Yeah. So I've spent a lot of time there, and I've never had an issue, but it definitely looks scary. And I think it's gotten a lot worse now than it was when I considered myself a Jamaican back in 2011.
When you paid the money to get the money?
2013. Yeah.
When you paid the money to get your balance back and ended up being a day late. Literally a day late.
Yeah. So, yeah, that check never came. But I did get it back from a friend several years later, because if you remember the story, PokerStars ended up buying Full Tilt out. And so they basically put the money in my PokerStars account.
Yeah, that was part of the PokerStars trying to get in the good graces of the DOJ.
Yeah,
that whole deal.
And see what was cool about it, because I went to Jamaica and changed my residency in PokerStars as a Jamaican, they put my Full Tilt balance in my PokerStars account. Whereas had I not done that, they would have sent that money to the DOJ, and I would have had to get it directly from the U.S. government. But it was a lot easier to just get it out of my PokerStars account. I transferred it to a friend who's not from the U.S., who's playing on PokerStars, and then he just like gave me the money off through PayPal or something.
That's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. Yo, Coach Brad here, and I have a very simple question. How would you like an opportunity to join Nick Howard's crew at Poker Detox? This is a chance for you to have world-class coaching and hop on the fast track to destroying online cash and MTTs without risking your own money or enduring years of pain trying to figure things out on your own. I recently had the good fortune to go behind the scenes with Nick and his detox crew to experience for myself their training methods, and quite frankly, I was blown away and have never seen anything like it. The Poker Detox system is both powerful enough to supercharge your game and simple enough to implement hand after hand. In the last year, they have verifiably fast-tracked multiple players from 50 no limit all the way up through 1K no limit, and on average, their players are winning 8 big blinds per 100 on non-app sites across all stakes, with the majority of volume being played at 200 through 500 no limit. However, this opportunity is not for wannabes or lazy bums. This is for folks who are obsessed and want to do the work so that they can reach their full potential as poker players. To qualify, you must be able to provide a break-even or winning graph in cash games or MTTs over the last 3 to 6 months and be willing to play full-time. To take the next step, all you have to do is send me that graph via email, brad@enhanceyouredge.com, or send a direct message to @enhanceyouredge on Twitter, and I'll personally guide you through the next step in the process. Once again, that email is brad@enhanceyouredge.com, and the Twitter handle is @enhanceyouredge. Thank you for your time. I'd love to hear from you soon. And now, back to the show. Well, what do you think is the most unexpected thing that's come from your poker journey?
The most unexpected thing I would say, I'll say 2. One is the friendships I've built with other players I've met online. Like I'm friends with, like I looked through the list of your past guests, and a lot of those people are good friends of mine. People that I would have never met had it not been for poker. Darrow Kearney is a good friend of mine, and like I'm probably never going to go to Ireland. He's probably never going to come to Griffin, which is where I'm originally from. You know where that is, I think. But I tell everybody else Atlanta. And so I never would have met him. Andrew Brokus, Thinking Poker Podcast, is a really good friend of mine. Never would have met him. So all these people that will be lifelong friends, and that's just 2. There's like tons of them. All these people will be lifelong friends. I didn't expect that when I was, signing up to play a card game. And the freedom that I have now is something that I didn't expect in terms of freedom and like the love for simplicity. Like I had what you're supposed to want before I got into poker. Had a middle class job, had a house, the girl. Only thing I didn't have was like 2 kids and a dog, but I didn't want those anyway. But if it wasn't for my experiences in poker, I would have been stuck in that life, and I guess happy out of a ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. But because I kind of got away from that life and just started traveling and just seeing how little I can live on, and I found real happiness once I started chasing simplicity. So now my love for simplicity, and basically I'm I'm striving towards being more of a minimalist. And if you'd asked me that before I got into poker, I would never thought I would be that type of person. And I didn't think that poker would lead me in that direction.
Do you think this is going to be your journey?
Yes,
forever.
Definitely. I'm always going the opposite direction than other people. It's like people are like moving from one house to a bigger house. I'm moving from a van to a Prius. so, so like, yeah, like I'm so happy with very little. Like I'll never buy a house again because people would say, why don't you get an RV? I was like, I don't really need an RV and I don't really want an RV. I want to be outside of my physical body. I like to be small and flexible. My physical body is not small and flexible, but I'd rather be in a Prius that gets 50.
How big are you? You've mentioned it a few times for the viewers at home to get a mental image.
I'm 5'11", probably sitting at about 270 right now. So think about squeezing all that into a Prius. Along with all my other crap, because I do have other things in there as well. But the thing is, I found through this game that the less I have, the happier I am. And so that's why I kind of made this joke that your show is called Chasing Poker Greatness. I feel like I'm chasing poker mediocrity because it's like I don't want to be like the best poker player in the world because I kind of got into poker because I didn't want to work super hard. And the type of work, the amount of work that it would take to do that doesn't appeal to me at all. And if I were able to achieve that and I made millions, that wouldn't make me happy. Like millions of dollars would not make me happy. What makes me happy is freedom and simplicity. And I don't need to be great at poker to get that. Mediocre is still better than 90% of the players out there.
What's amazing to me is that greatness is an abstract term, first of all. It can mean many different things to many different people. And thinking along the lines of like Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, you're following your bliss. And you following your bliss is your version of greatness, right? Like this is what your heart tells you to go after and what your heart is telling you is the right thing. So I think in that way, this pursuit of the things that make you happy and give you fulfillment is greater than even the pursuit of making millions of dollars and being famous as a poker player or whatever it is that inevitably leads people towards lack of fulfillment or unhappiness. There's a lot to be said for knowing yourself and following your own bliss.
Yes. I'll say I've met in my time a lot of millionaires and one near billionaire that have expressed jealousy of my lifestyle. And that's something that I would have not expected. You would think those people would be happy, but I think a lot of people kind of do what society expects of them as opposed to what they really want to do. And I try to live the opposite of that.
Yeah, it's a human condition. It always struck me as funny when I was living at Commerce playing poker every single day that I would be playing with businessmen who all they wanted to do was play as much poker as possible, and poker players who all they wanted to do was stop playing poker so they could get involved in business. It's like two people who are, they're both trying to get to where the other person is and not realizing that, you know, they need to find their own version of fulfillment and that it's a self issue and not what they're doing is as an issue.
And here's the saddest thing about that story to me. The poker player that wants all the money that the business guy has, usually what happens is that if he's lucky enough to get there, he'll realize that that's not what's going to make him happy. And then he'll realize that maybe he's like wasting his life chasing that. So that's sad. But what's also sad is that it's super easy for the billionaire to go back, the millionaire to go back to just being like, you know, a guy that grinds poker all day. It's like, it's not hard to get rid of a $1 million business if you wanted to, but they feel like they can't. They have so many people depending on them. And what does that, you know, how would that make them look? And so like both of these people are just like stuck in unhappiness that they can fairly easily fix if it wasn't for societal pressures.
Yeah, it's the golden cage, and it strikes me as odd that, a multimillionaire is jealous of your lifestyle, has every tool in the world to adopt your lifestyle, but still just can't make themselves do it. Right. It's like, it's a weird scenario where, like, yeah, of course, like, you can sell all your stuff and you can live in a Prius, right? Like, this is not something that's beyond your capability. They just don't do it.
They just don't do it, man. And I just don't see the point in living in a way that doesn't make you happy. Like, I basically do whatever I want. I almost feel like a millionaire in that I basically do whatever I want to do every day.
Yeah, know yourself. I think that's kind of the beauty of the abstraction of chasing poker greatness, is like, you need to know yourself and understand what greatness means to you, what a fulfilling life means to you, and then chase that. Because it's so sad to me for somebody to be chasing something for 20 years, 25 years, only to catch it and realize that it wasn't what they needed, or wasn't what would make them happy at the end of the day. So, like, really understanding yourself, I think, is point number one in regards to your poker journey and just your life journey, period. I have some lightning round questions here for you. When you think about joy in your career playing cards, what's the first memory that comes to mind?
When I think about joy, I would say winning that last hand in the Bovada Major that I won in 2015. It's the most joy I ever felt in my life. And what's weird about it is I won the hand, I stood up, and I went to the mirror in the bathroom that was like 2 steps away, because this is an efficiency hotel room. And I just said to myself, you did it. You did it. You did it. I just said that over time, over and over. And I'm like laughing and crying at the same time. Like, that to me is joy. Like, that's something that I do miss and I wish I can have more often, is an excuse to, like, cry happy tears. If I can do that every day, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. And unfortunately, we have to go from this crying happy tears to the opposite question of when you think of pain in your poker career, what's the first memory that comes to mind?
I would say the one that strikes me the most. So I played the main event 2015, cashed it. First time, like, dust the dust off my shoulder. It was easy. And then I go to Cherokee and I play the Cherokee main. And I make it to day 2, and I was approaching the bubble and had a plan to get into the money. And because I'd played the big main and won it, I kind of felt like this one was like, like, I've been there, done that. This one's not that serious. If I don't cash this, fine, but I'm going to, play for the win. And I had my perfect plan set up. And then the table broke. Because, like, the night before, when you make a day 2, they tell you all the people you're playing against. So I researched my opponents. I knew exactly how to take, and everything I envisioned was coming to fruition. And the table broke. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting with people I don't know with a short stack, and the blinds are going up, and I need information. I don't have any information. And I just, like, panic and like shove, like, any 2 cards over an open where a guy is supposed to be wide, and he looked like the type that might be wide, but I didn't have solid information. So, like, playing blind and not feeling like I have a strong game plan and making a massive mistake in a spot like that for it, it took me about a year to get over that hand.
Wow.
Because it was like, I know what caused it. It was like the lack of, I lost all the preparation I had done, and I panicked. So to answer your question, when I think of pain in poker, it's not bad beats. It's mistakes. When I make mistakes because I'm not prepared, that hurts.
And that's a greatness bomb. That leads me to the next question. What is your process for regularly improving your game? What does that look like? Because I can tell straight away, you research all the guys, you're doing your homework, you're trying to find an edge, which is a player after my own heart. What do you do to improve on a daily basis?
So what I do is, instead of trying to learn how to do mixed strategies and approximate a GTO solution, which I know is impossible for everybody, especially for me, I just go the opposite direction. I just figure out how to maximally exploit bad players and just don't play with good players. And so I've been fortunate enough to find lots and lots and lots of bad players on Bovada. And so the majority of my day is, and I say fortunate because that's the only site that I've ever played on that releases all the whole cards 24 hours after the tournament is over. So basically what I do every morning is I get up and I review every tournament I played the day before with all the whole cards and just figure out how to maximally exploit the mistakes my opponents make. So if you throw me at a super high roller table, like everybody else, I'm going to get destroyed, but I'm probably going to get destroyed a lot more than the people who are studying GTO. But if you put that type of player at a table with these Bovada regs, I'm going to outperform them because I know everything that makes these people tick. And so I increase my quote unquote skill by taking advantage of their mistakes as opposed to improving in the way that most people think about improving as a poker player.
And the genius in this approach to strategy is that 80% of your profit in poker comes from 20% of the players you play against. And, it's the Pareto principle. 20% of those players are going to be the whales, the recreationals that you come across. So it makes so much more sense to study the 20% that 80% of your profit comes from than studying the 80% of, the top 80% where only 20% of your money comes from. That to me is a really, really intelligent approach to maximizing your hourly rate and your win rate playing cards. If you could gift all poker players a book to read, what would it be and why?
If I could gift all poker players a book to read, I will say one, and it's funny that you mentioned the Pareto principle because I learned about that in a book called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. That was a book that kind of like led me down the road of chasing simplicity. And like we talked about, like living your life the way you want to as opposed to what society says.
Stoicism, right?
Yeah, stoicism. Like, I think that is something that it pairs really well with the freedom and access to capital that a poker player lifestyle provides.
It is a great book, and I love Tim Ferriss's podcast. And my next question is actually a Tim Ferriss question. So, if you could erect a billboard every poker player had to drive past on their way to the casino, what would it say?
Every poker player had to drive past on the way to the casino. I guess I would say, turn around, go home, play online. That's what I would say.
When my graphic designer comes up with that billboard, there goes all of my live casino sponsorship opportunities straight away into the dust.
Yes.
What's your current big goal as related to poker?
Current big goal. So I have been doing a whole lot of coaching lately, and I want to increase my do a better job of building my coaching clientele, because that is I enjoy that a lot more than playing these days. And I think part of it comes from my experience as a teacher. Like I kind of miss that part of the teaching profession is like, seeing that light bulb go off for so many people. And so, yeah, my big goal over the next 5 years is to become a more established poker coach and become a better poker coach.
I love that. There's a lot of fulfillment in teaching and helping people along their poker journey that I can attest to as a coach myself who has coached these guys. You get invested in their future. You get invested in them personally. They become your friends. You root for them. And like, it's so fulfilling when they find success, when the light bulb goes off in their head and they improve their game. And you see that, that's the fruits of your labor. And it's just a super, super fulfilling thing to see.
Yes.
2 more questions and we'll get you out of here. If you had a magic wand and could change one thing about poker, what would you change?
Access to a regulated, legal, worldwide poker site. I think that is absurd that we are
9
years after Black Friday and we still don't have nationwide poker in the US. That is ridiculous to me.
It's absurd. And I had the thought the other day that I haven't had a screen name on a pure US facing website in 9 years. Like I was on Global Poker and they like kind of looking around to test out all the different platforms on the market. And they were like, choose a screen name. And I was like, whoa, it's been a while since I've had to even consider a screen name. Cause obviously Bovada is just all anonymous.
Right. But there's places where you can play lottery online now, but you can't play poker.
It's crazy. I mean, Tennessee just legalized sports betting. Statewide, they just legalized, they had the lottery legal forever, but poker, we need to root for some powerful people to, hate to say it, but kind of kick the bucket so that the money stops flowing in to keep online poker from becoming a thing, because it is freaking, it's absurd.
Yeah.
What has happened to this market. Like for me, being involved in it for as long as I have, it's the only option for somebody that lives in Atlanta is, I can play in home games that can sometimes be sketchy, or I can play on an online platform that can be sketchy. Like that's those are my 2 options. And it's just almost criminal that that's the case.
Yes.
And final question, where can the Chasing Poker Greatness audience find you on the World Wide Web?
The easiest way to find me is on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is hiphop101 trivia. And that's the easiest way to find me.
Carlos, you're the man. I love this conversation. Thank you so much for your time and energy. And let's do this again, maybe in a couple of years, and catch up on what kind of car you're living in.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully it'll be something with more fuel efficiency.
See you, man.
Okay. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Chasing Poker Greatness. If you have yet to subscribe to the show, please take a second to do so on Apple Podcasts or wherever your favorite place to listen to podcasts may be. For more content from me, Coach Brad, please visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/enhanceyouredge, and I'll see you next time.